In this next video, I want to share a couple of things around Azure IoT solutions and components. Honestly, quite a lot of things to cover. I'm going to start with why IoT or Internet of Things is a big thing nowadays. I'm also going to show something around IoT devices and then talking more about IoT specific components within Azure. But first I want to start with Azure IoT reference architecture. Stepping over to Azure Event Hub, IoT Hub as Azure Platform Components, and ending this video talking about Azure Stream Analytics. Now if you're wondering why IoT is a really big thing, I think this image summarizes it all. It's all about devices that we have available that are turning into smarter devices and they have an internet connection. Some examples like air conditioning machines, temperature control, which is managed by your electricity company. The device itself is located at your home, or using bike riding information, even sport and tracking devices, or object tracking like suitcase tracking. Basically, almost any device you can think of nowadays, whenever it has an internet connection available and it can be remotely managed and generate data, it's most probably an IoT device. Now, when talking about these devices, it can be a variety of different flavors. Some of them are really smart peripherals. Some of them are just a main board, having some cables, interconnected and connections, and then some other devices are a combination of about anything. Where the ultimate one for me personally is a wearable like a sport tracking device. Even your smartphone is actually an IoT device, but then it also needs some apps installed on top of that. Some typical common devices you have probably heard of already is Raspberry Pi or Arduino, which are mainly mainboards, like a physical card, allowing you to build out your IoT devices in different scenarios. And then another one that I would like to highlight here is a specific version of Windows 10, which is called Windows 10 IoT Core, which in the base is an operating system specifically built around Windows 10, allowing you to manage and operate IoT devices. But it's not only Windows 10, as already mentioned, there are some other operating systems available as well. Now, from an Azure perspective, it's interesting to start with what's called the Azure IoT reference architecture. Going from left to right, we start with event producers. These are mainly the applications or the devices generating the information or generating the telemetric data. Then we send along the collection through a cloud gateway, which mainly is based on web APIs, or using physical field gateways like a physical box that is stored inside a shop. And then we can, for example, centralize all the telemetric information, sending this on to Azure Event Hubs or Azure IoT Hubs, where an event hub or an IoT hub is basically collecting all the information and really being used as an ingestion broker. Out of event hubs and IoT hubs, we transfer the data, for example, to Azure Stream Analytics, where the stream of processing can happen. From there on, we transport and store in a long-term storage through Service Bus, storing it in an Azure database, or natively storing it in Azure Storage, or if you want, reusing Stream Analytics data into HD Insight. And then here on the right-hand side, we do have the presentation layer, which can be Azure Search, can be Power BI, could be Power View or even Excel, allowing you to build customized presentation applications. So if you're really interested in Azure IoT, this is like the ultimate architecture to keep in mind. Now let me move over a bit more in detail about Azure Event Hubs now. Azure Event Hub is a highly scalable subscription-based service that can ingest millions of events per second, streaming them into multiple applications, as I explained in the previous demo architecture. It allows you to process events with variable load profiles, and it also allows to connect millions of devices from different platforms. Next to that, there's also the specific IoT-related hub, which is called Azure IoT Hub. Overall, it's about the same concept as event hubs, but it's more specific, targeted towards IoT devices. Now, another thing to keep in mind here is the protocols AMQP and MQTT, which are two protocols specifically used for queuing telemetric information. So it basically depends on the protocol of the devices that you're using, whether it's supporting the one or the other. If AMQP or MQTT is not supported, then you might have a fallback option available using HTTP. And then you can use an Azure IoT Gateway SDK framework that is available for you to build out your custom IoT solutions. Once we have data available out of Event Hub or IoT Hub, we're going to send it along to Azure Stream Analytics. Azure Stream Analytics provide you complex event processing of stream data as a service. It's a simple, cost-effective way to process complex events. It's perfect for small number of high-volume queries and data streams, and it can also help you in predictable and repeatable results. Input again is coming from blob storage, Azure Event Hubs, where the output goes to blob storage again, or can be other Azure components like Event Hubs, Service Bus, Azure SQL database, and any other database format, and then using a presentation layer out of Power BI. Now again, I already covered this in the previously discussed IoT reference architecture. And this was a quick introduction to IoT, where I talked about Event Hubs, IoT Hubs, and Stream Analytics. Now I don't really have a full demo available on how to configure and deploy Azure IoT solutions, but I want to emphasize that there is one interesting website that I quickly want to talk about. The website is azureIoTsuite.com, allowing you to deploy a pre-configured demo environment that you can use for building Azure custom dashboards or just learning about how to develop your own Azure IoT solutions. So from here, when I'm connecting to this website, it's integrating with your Azure subscription, and from the plus sign here, it allows me to build out a new solution. And it gives you two different demo environments available. One is being used for predictive maintenance, and the other one is used for remote monitoring. So selecting either of them is actually enough to deploy a demo environment. As you can see here, what happens first is it will integrate with Azure Active Directory. It will deploy an IoT Hub, an Event Hub, two storage accounts, a Stream Analytics job will be created, some web application service plan will be defined, and a web application will also be created. So basically everything you need for having a full IoT managed solution. The only thing left is providing a unique solution name, linking it to your Azure subscription, and specifying the region. Once it detects the name is unique, it starts creating the solution. Now let me go back to my home page and then showing you what the result might look like once it's being deployed. So from here I pre-deployed one in my solution, and as you can see it's simulating live stream scenarios, where it's integrating with live maps, so basically showing me different locations around the US where my data and my IoT devices are stored. It's also providing me historical information about temperature and humidity. It's also giving me alarm history about when something happened on my device, like temperature was too high. Then it will generate an alert. I can also get a more detailed view about my devices. I can see the device manufacturer, the model number, and so on. When I'm selecting one of those devices, it's giving me specific detailed feedback on that specific device, the uptime of the device, the manufacturer's serial number, and so on. Next to that, it also allows me to configure specific rules based on a rule ID, based on data fields, whenever an alarm needs to be generated, like in the first example I showed you, if the temperature goes above 38 degrees and generating an alarm temperature. I could execute certain actions like shutting down the device or rebooting the device, or even, based on a more advanced scenario, integrating with API registration or adding my own custom IoT devices. So again, this is just an easy example on how you can leverage the power of Azure IoT by connecting Azure IoT Suite. If I would show you the components in my Azure subscription, I will go to my resource groups here. There is one specifically for IoT demo environment. And as you can see, it deploys IoT Hub. It deploys a NoSQL database. This one, for example, is based on DocumentDB. It also deployed Event Hub, Stream Analytics, Application Service Plans, and Web Application Service Plans, allowing me to have this nice looking dashboard in a live working website. So again, IoTAzureSuite.com is the easy way to deploy demo environments for IoT and extending it with your own custom built solutions. In this video, you learned about why IoT is important, and we talked a little bit about IoT devices, sharing some examples and use cases. Then I zoomed in to specific features around Azure IoT reference architecture, talked about Azure Event Hub and IoT Hub details, and talking about Azure Stream Analytics. This completes this part of the training, and in the next video I will cover Azure Security Center.